today's class is actually very important for practitioner and for the lay people. When you're new to Buddhism, the idea, what is required of you in developing viriya energy, what is required of you for your own practice is important. But for a practitioner, is very important. You see, you look at the 37 factors of enlightenment, right? And the fact that if you look through that list of 37 factors of enlightenment, this guy features in almost everything. It didn't feature only in one of them, which is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. But in everything else, it's there. And that alone should tell you that this condition, the mental state of viriya, is so critical to the practice. So critical to the practice. Now, what is viriya? Literally, if you go and dig in the Pali dictionary, literally it means energy, vigor, effort, strength. You are looking at it essentially at 2 levels. At one level, it is just the amount of mental resources that you can pull out in the mind, the strength that you can pull out for a practice. Okay? It's all about the strength for a practice, the mental strength for a practice. That's at one level. At another level, it's about keep going. Your strength is enough to get you started and to keep you going. And you won't give up. Okay? Now, for a new Buddhist who is not realized, who's not practicing yet, just very new to the game, the word viriya, what is it for? It is to build morality. It is actually synonymous, it works together with morality. You generate effort to exercise restraint on the mind. I've said again and again that our normal mind, the normal individual, the national average individual's mind, tends to be very instinctively negative. That's the scary part. Instinctively negative. Because we are very territorial creature. Our instinct is to protect what's ours. We come from, let's just say that our genes came from a time when society was a lot harsher. And your genes enable you to survive. You as a species to survive. For you to be able to survive, you need to be able to fight or run very fast. And as they say, you don't have to run faster than the creature. You only have to outrun the fella running next to you. So he die, you survive. You chop, 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 eat him, then you survive. So you can see how nasty our instincts can be. In this practice, for the nominal Buddhists, the first thing you do is to learn how to restrain those negative instincts. The first thing that we do. So the Buddha tells you, do good, do no evil. That's the first step. Do no evil is the part about the precepts. So you don't kill, you don't take what's not given, you don't commit sexual misconduct. Why this one's so unique? Because humans are very much driven by sexual instincts. And in the old days, during the Buddha's time, you can just imagine that might is right. And men tend to force themselves on the woman. In these are old days. We know these days they don't do that anymore. But in the old days they did. Okay? Don't say that. Must delete Okay. The instinct of the mind is also to do things in its own convenience, and therefore sometimes telling untruth is convenient. Fudging the truth is convenient. So therefore, telling the truth is not instinctive. Fudging it is instinctive. Then you don't get into trouble, ma. Then life is easier, ma. Okay. So that's very instinctive. The liquor part is a unique Buddhist addition. Originally, in the time of the Buddha, there were only 4 rules. Don't kill, don't take things not given, don't impose yourself sexually on another, and don't lie. In the time of the Buddha, those were the 4 key restraints. But unique to Buddhism, as a result of a misbehaving conduct by an intoxicated monk, the Buddha then set the rule about exercising restraint, avoid intoxicants. The rules came about much later. And it makes sense, because if you were to take a little bit of liquor, actually it doesn't cause any problem. It's when you take too much, then it causes problems. Okay? But anyway, that's a separate story. The point is that these are very basic rules. And if you are going for the lowest standard, right? If you're going only for the lowest standard, then that's it. You don't kill, you don't steal, you tell the truth, that's it. But if you're going for one step higher, you're practicing Buddhist, you say, I want to do it a bit better. The same 5 has a correlation. The part that says you don't kill actually says you honor life. You respect life. And by respecting life and honoring life, it means you show consideration for others. So you don't kill is lowest of the bar. A practicing Buddhist takes it higher. We respect lives. We save lives. That's why you go into we function. That's why you go into that level, you see. You say, oh, higher and get higher and higher. Higher and higher means like that lah. From not killing to saving. But if you're not normal day usually don't have opportunity to save life lah. So normal days, what do? You merely respect another. You will treat another being as you would want yourself to be treated. So that you don't want to be scolded, you don't want to be treated unfairly, you don't want to be abused, beaten up and so on and so forth. Then you accord the same respect to another. That's about life. The stealing part, again, very low bar. Asking you not to steal is very low bar. You take it way higher into what a Buddhist should be doing would be to give. You don't take, instead you give. By giving, your heart opens up. Can you see that correlation? And you give not just money, you give time, you give a part of yourself, you give Dhamma, different gradations of gifts. And sometimes they say, oh, you give until it hurts, no need to hurt one. Seriously. You should give until you have joy. As opposed to you give until it hurts. It's not about hurting, it's about having joy in giving. You must always remember, when you give, you must derive joy from the process. Then your heart, your mind opens up. If you don't derive joy, your mind doesn't open properly. Okay, sexual misconduct. It's about upholding your promise to another. Imposing your will is easy. Respecting another when the person says no is a bit harder. Upholding a marriage vow, honoring that respect, actually is not easy. Why? Because the instinct of human race is to have a roving eyes. The instinct is to look around. Because the intent of you being attracted to another being is so that you can procreate and produce the next generations and generations. So the instinct is to look around. It's all driven inside there. The restraint is for you to undertake so that you don't go and cheat and break somebody's heart. Not telling lies, tough. Pushing it to a higher level actually is about seeing the truth as it is. Seeing the truth and be absolutely honest to yourself. Ultimately, this thing about lying, ultimately is about seeing the mind as it is. Right? Because not telling lies, as I said, is a very low bar. But if you are a practitioner, then what do? Don't tell lies, then don't say anything, keep quiet, don't say anything. No, in your mind, tell the truth. Exactly what's a fact. Your mind has to practice, the mind has to practice to see something objectively as it can. It's not easy. You see, ultimately, this practice, the success of this practice is, can you see the mind as it is? And we all know it's so difficult to see the mind. It's so difficult. And you have to see the mind until it's very, very subtle. So in the process of getting to a point where your mind can see itself, that it's a very long journey of training yourself how to see truth objectively as it is. And you make no excuse about it. If you find your mind making excuses, you know your mind has a problem. When it wants to go and see itself, it's going to be very difficult. Because the habit of the mind that you're carrying, that habit is to create story, is to do Hollywood. That's a problem. You see what I'm saying? It has to be able to see one is one. And if it were to see that one, it can even see it down to one is but a bunch of dots. It's that level of resolution, that clarity. And you want to get to that state, you have to practice. Practice very hard. And in daily life, you are able to differentiate in your mind the different degree of truths down to that level of clarity. It means this, it doesn't mean this. Your mind is very clear, that clarity. You don't fudge it. If you notice that your mind likes to fudge around the truth, you also got problematic mind. This mind got problem seeing Dhamma. Okay? That's how sharp it is. And the last one is just observing the restraint from taking intoxicants. That one is quite straightforward. I don't even want to go into details about that. Now, that is not doing wrong. There's a whole bunch of doing right. Do good. And the do good bit, I wrote down there are 10 of them. 10 of them. The avoid doing 10 evil deeds and the doing 10 good ones. Okay? 2 different sets, 20 of them. Not difficult, actually quite straightforward. The 10 evil one first. 3 of them deals with action, 4 of them deals with speech, and the last 3 deals with the mind. 3 action, 4 speech, 3 minds. The 3 action have already been covered under the precepts. So no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct. The 4 speech, one of which is no lies. The other 3, no harsh speech, don't use angry words, avoid angry words. No slander, i.e. you gossip in order to undermine people. Talk bad about people. And you know what's really strange? We do have a tendency to love a good gossip. We do have a tendency to love a good gossip. It's like the mind can't help enjoying a scandal, That's why the 什么晚报 can sell, right? Today it's good. Is it today? Newspaper. Sell. Okay. The last one, which we all tend to say what's wrong with that, it's called frivolous talk. In Pali, it's called sampapalapa, okay, frivolous talk. Then you say, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with talking about the weather? What's wrong with talking about all kinds of little small things you have you had your meal? What's wrong with that? Oh? What's wrong with talking about my garden today? Very nice. What's wrong with that? You see, if you are a practitioner, as long as you're not talking Dhamma, your mind needs to work and create thoughts and generate a lot of activities. If you are a practitioner, you don't want your mind to generate a lot of activities, right? Because we're talking about practitioner path. If it generates a lot of activities, your mind is preoccupied with construction exercises. It is not free to be looking at itself. It is too busy cooking. How to see the mind? You see what I'm saying? You want to see the mind. Be quiet. And the only way you can see the mind is you stop mental activities and just sit there and watch. I kid you not. The real practice, when it comes to it, right, is you sit there, you do nothing, you stare at it. Then you say, wow, like nothing to do, a lot of things to do. When you start looking at your mind, you'll find that 1 hour not enough for you to see. You're actually watching it, 1 hour not enough for you to see. Because it takes a while to settle down, for the sediment to all settle down so that it is ready to see. It takes a long while. Then what do we do in daily life? We go and have a lot of activity, all the activities, right? And then when you sit that time, you take a longer while to settle down. Cannot. So frivolous talk, the problem with frivolity is that your mind gets hyper-excitable or it is restless. It becomes restless. When you engage in too much of frivolity, right? If you engage in too much of it, the mind becomes restless. It is like that. And when the mind becomes restless, it's like a child on a sugar high. When the mind gets restless and it spins all over the place, you want to bring it down, it's going to take a long while. And it's going to be very problematic. It's going to inflict a cost on your mind in order to calm it down. It's going to be painful. Okay? Then the three which deals with the mind are covetousness, ill will. The three of them are covetousness, ill will, and wrong view. I'll explain each one. These are not so familiar to a lot of people. Covetousness is a mind that wants, greedy, constantly grasping. So it is lobha. The three of them is actually lobha, dosa, moha, you see. So lobha, L-O-B-H-A means greed, means wanting. The emphasis here is to take in, to bring it in, as opposed to giving out. When you want it inwards, this mind of doing this action of grasping actually causes your mind to narrow down. A narrow mind is a hard mind. A hard mind can't see. Okay? The other one, which is anger, ill will. Ill will, patiga, same thing. This one also becomes very hard. You go and watch your own mind when it is angry, right? It's very rock solid. It can't see. An angry mind, which is very hard, can't see. Can't see Dhamma. Can't be at peace. It's so hard. All it wants is just rock around. Not a steady rock, okay? This kind of rock is landslide on. Can kill. It's not a good one, okay? And it's very hard. People say things cannot penetrate. So you see, look, your child, right, your little kid, when they are angry, you try to explain things to them, they are not listening. They will not listen. They can't hear you. And it's like that. Oh. So you have to calm the mind down, make it light, make it happy, and then it's open to listening. The third one, wrong view. Typically, it is explained as not seeing the world through Four Noble Truths, not understanding the world through the Dhamma, Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path. Okay, let me give you an example what it means. You think about it. In a normal day-to-day life, we sometimes get into conflict with people. It's normal, right? Sometimes you have your views, I have my views, we have differences. It's normal. If underpinning your instincts, underpinning it, is the sense that things are impermanent, they come and they go, there is no I in it. The more I fight for something, the more painful it is. If underpinning your instinct is like that, right? Then the odds are you won't fight. The odds are you wouldn't clash. But normal day to day, we are not mindful of this at all. Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path is something you hang on the wall. Then you go home at night, you go and bow to the Buddha, you just remember it. But day to day, if you're not a practitioner, you don't remember it. You remember it, they're words. Chances are you don't remember it. Chances are when we get upset when someone cut queue, right, you don't remember this Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path. Yes, you're cutting my queue. Chances are. So this wrong view, it is not a view per se. It's your mind at a point when you are encountering the world. The state of mind when you are looking at the world, dealing with the world. That's all. And in that state of mind, looking at the world, you're back to your normal self. You're back to your national average self. And the national average self typically does not have Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path as an underpinning principle through which it looks at the world. Not that. In fact, the typical normal self will look at the world through I, my space, my face, my sweet or not. The normal, typical self, it's all about self. This is how I look at the world. Where got Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path? Seriously. What does it even mean? Typically. But when you when you take on a practitioner path and you're very serious about it, and you really want to see the Dhamma, over time, and it takes a while, over time, this path, this mindset begin to sink into you. Over time, it becomes more habitual. You keep doing it, you keep reminding yourself, you keep reflecting on dukkha, anicca, anatta, right? You keep doing that. When you remember, you do that. After a while, this becomes the new lens. You start to switch your lens really. Okay? When that happens, this wrong view that governs your perspective start to shift. It will start to shift. It's building new habits, new kusala, skillful habits. Now, why would a non-practitioner be so concerned about do good, do no evil? Oh, sorry, before I forget, I have to talk about the 10 kusala first. The 10, I've talked about all the negative, now I must talk about the positive, okay? Positive, actually I've mentioned it before, I think in this class, have I? Dana, Sila, Bhavana, Apachayana, Vayavacca.
Not discuss.
Patanumodana. Okay, I haven't, okay. 10 of them. The first one, giving. Dana is to give. Be generous. The intent behind giving is the opening up of the mind and the lifting of the heart. When you give, you should be joyous. You should really be happy that you had a chance to give. That you even have the means to give. I love that story about how this man and the wife take turns to wear one outside clothes to go see Buddha and make their offerings and so on. They are so poor, they make minimal offering. Minimal. But it gave them so much joy. That kind of joy is what you will remember when the time comes for you to move on, right? That kind of joy is the power, is that Duracell that bumps you to the next good life, you see. It's very powerful. Joy in the heart, if done correctly, is very powerful. It's your spacecraft that lifts you, okay? So dana, giving. The second one is sila, which is morality. Just morality. The precepts, the observing the precepts. Restraining the mind. The intent behind the second one is to restrain your negative instincts so that the positive ones can surface. Okay? The third one is bhavana, meditation. The intent of bhavana for the normal person is essentially spend time for your mind to quieten down. Just spend time, give your mind time to quieten down. You must always do that. The mind needs time to heal. Even if you don't find even if you find yourself not quite a meditator, you don't enjoy it, doesn't matter. Go sit quietly 10 minutes. Just let your mind rest and let your mind settle down and let your mind be at peace just for a short while. Has to do that, must do that daily and enjoy it. Don't say, oh dear, 10 minutes, I must now sit. Oh, like that cannot lah. Like that 9 upon 10, assuming you do all the other 9. This is very important. If you do it right, this is the moment your mind elevates. That's how important it is. If you do it wrong, this is the moment your mind goes to sleep and then get very fed up. Because I am not doing anything useful, you say. Never mind, just do it right. Eventually you do it right. Initially maybe get it a bit wrong, normal, but eventually you get it right. Give your time. So bottom line, give mind time to settle down, to rest, to heal. And if you do it right, to alleviate. Okay?
You say to heal.
Because the normal mind is very stressed. The normal mind has a lot of punches to it on an average day. Every time you get annoyed, every time you have the arising of craving, every time you feel this stress or restlessness, the mind suffers a blow. A blow. And if you do this, if you have above average hits, or you are a less resilient person because you carry the punches in your mind. When I say resilient, I don't mean weak or strong. I merely mean some people they can drop it and don't think about it. Some people can't. You scold them, right? They will remember. They don't know how to let it go. So what happens is, you punch them once, then they go home and punch themselves 1,000 times. Can you imagine that? Now you know why the fellow goes crazy. Whereas the ones who know how to just drop it, right? You punch them once, they only got half the punch. Painful. You know what I mean? You punch them once, then they only remember half. Then they go off, then as they walk away, they drop, then nothing left. So they heal. Whereas some people, I know of people who cannot punch once and then take it for life, you know. They carry this burden for life. 40 years later, they still talk about being punched once. It's how poor thing, right? So this type of people, the mind never heals. It will just carry and carry and carry, and the pain will continue. Okay? So, dana, sila, bhavana. Okay, the next lot, the two of them deals with trying to bring down your own ego. It's about trimming your ego. One of them deals with respecting another. Respecting another. The other one deals with service to another. And usually they will say that, oh, it's respecting one worthy of respect. And then the other one, the next one says, you do service to someone worthy of service. If you look at the Pali words, there aren't all these extra tag on, you know. The Pali word merely says respect for another, service to another. The tag on may be the result of, along the way, people make it more palatable. More palatable. Because when you need to show respect to another, you've got to bring your own ego down. Otherwise, if your ego is very large, if your name carries a lot of prefix and suffix type, Your Majesty, the Soul that kind, can you just imagine how to bring yourself down a bit? Already the name's so big, they're so long, so many suffixes, you know, and prefixes, problematic, right? So this thing about being able to show respect to another, especially if the guy is not particularly worthy of respect, then you have arrived. Say for instance, let me just give you an example. When we look at someone who is able to say thank you to the guy who swept the floor, you look at him and say, hey, this guy is a nice guy, yeah? Right? You look at it and say, why do we even say that? When we see someone showing respect to the chap who wipes your table, to the guy who sweeps the floor, and so on and so forth, we look at this guy who shows that respect and we say, hey, he's a nice guy. Why do we even say that? And that is because most people don't do that. Most people instinctively don't see people who help them, who serve them. Most people don't see them, let alone say thank you. So the fact that someone acknowledges these guys and treat them as equal, your instinct is to say, oh, this is a bit different, quite a nice guy. That's why we can see it and we get a way higher. You see that? Any one of us here will have no problem bowing to a very good monk. So what's the big deal? But ask us to bow our head to, say, a person who is just cleaning the floor, washing your car. Must we do that? Why do we have to do that? You don't have to do that. My point is, to show respect to someone high is no big deal. To show respect to someone you consider not your equal is the bigger deal. But the fact that you see someone not your equal means you got a problem, really. See that? And unfortunately, the world is like that. Unfortunately, the world is like that. We have what we call mana, ego. Only the Arahant drops that. So we go around positioning ourselves 100 percentile, 90 percentile, 80 percentile, 70, down to the 0 percentile. We go around like that. And the lower we are in the mind, the more we compare. The higher we are in our mind, the less we compare. You think about it. I can almost bet my last dollar here, none of you will go around comparing who's richer. My watch nicer than yours. We all got this kind of low standard. When you come with the watch. Patik gila. Patik gila. Do we do that? We don't. I'm pretty sure that a whole bunch of us, we don't go around carrying a bag that says, you see my bag, Prada, Prada. We don't do that. But you know people who do that. You know people who do that. And the more you practice, the more you're going to say that there is no need to do that. You see what I'm saying? So you kind of elevate. So therefore, the more practice you are, the less you're going to compare. The less practice you are, the more there is a need to compare. Why is that? Because the eye is fragile, you see. Your eye is very fragile. You have to give it meaning. You have to give it to elevate it. And if you are so conscious of your eye, and yet very conscious that it's fragile, then it's very important for you to tag a lot of things on this eye to carry so that the eye can go compare well lor. In your own mind, because everyone else is thinking theirs is more important. There's a whole bunch of suns comparing each other, S-U-N, not S-O-N. Whole bunch of galaxies comparing each other. I've got 20 planets. How many you have? 2. You only 2 planets, so no standard. So there are a lot of these comparisons going on. Now, so these two about service and about respect is essentially for us to manage our ego, for us to let go. So the more we can bow and show respect and show consideration and help another, the more we are letting this ego rest and let it down. Okay? Okay, so that's 2 of them. Then you have 2 more that deals with transferring of merits. This is actually to do with gratitude. One is to do with gratitude. Gratitude to even beings unseen. To give to all. To remember everything. Every beings that had done something for you. So in something that you had done good, done well, you want to just share happily with beings, with the world, okay? So the other one is to say that when someone else is doing it, we're happy for them. Sometimes, again, this class doesn't count. This is a good class. This is a practitioner class, okay? Sometimes, if you think about it, right, sometimes when someone does something right, you will find people being jealous. Exactly, exactly. So when you can rejoice in another person doing good, doing right, it shows that your heart is open. It really means you have a nice, open, giving, sharing heart. So as you grow in this path, you will find that your pettiness, your inability to be happy for another, those will change. It will start to go away. Once upon a time, it's harder for you. As you practice more, it becomes easier and easier. And one day, it's second nature. Okay? That's how you grow. The last 3 deals with Dhamma. To listen to Dhamma, to share Dhamma, to clarify Dhamma. Very important. You basically need to feed the mind on nutritional stuff, good stuff. And Dhamma is as nutritional as it gets. So Dhamma is good because it lifts the mind. If you come across pure Dhamma, true Dhamma, it will lift your mind, for sure. If you find your mind sinking, right, there's something wrong there. You should make a beeline for the door. And you don't go away, okay? Just stick around. Okay, so that is the do good, do no evil bit. And why would nominal Buddhists be so concerned about this? Because I'm assuming that you believe in karma. If you think about it, it says, okay, I'm a Buddhist, I do believe in karma. Then you want to be on the correct side of karma. That you had put in the correct conditions in the mind for practice, for spiritual growth. You want to put in the correct condition for practice, for spiritual growth, for spiritual maturity, realization. You don't put in the condition, it won't happen. You want to grow a plant, you better have a seed in there. No seed, you can water, you can give it fertilizer, nothing is coming out other than moss. Yes? But if you want to grow a plant, you put in the seed of your plant. Don't put the wrong seed lah. You want to grow a coconut tree, you put in a mango plant, a seed. It ain't going to come out with a coconut tree. So you want to see Dhamma. You want to realize Dhamma. You want to experience Dhamma. then you've got to plant the right thing that will sprout the Dhamma fruits. And these conditions are preconditions. You have to restrain the negativities of the mind. You got to promote the positivities. Negativities are all those anger instincts, craving instincts, the instincts that tell you, don't heck care about Dhamma, what's the problem, just do whatever you want. Those instincts must go. And they're very dangerous. Because the moment you give in to them, right, it's easy for them to proliferate. Gratification, shiok, let's do it again. Gratification, shiok, man. If you don't want to do, if you say that Dhamma is not important, next life then start, that kind of thought can really lock you into the next life then start thought. This life no need. Next life you're so sure you got a brain can think. Have you even done the right thing to make sure that your brain, you choke a place, you choke a brain that can think? Have you even done the right thing to make sure you choke that brain? And how do you choke that brain? You actually choke the brain by reflecting on Dhamma. In order for you to be guaranteed that in your next life as a human being, you got a brain that can think, you actually got to start reflecting on Dhamma in this life. Then why you say, why so biased one? Because in order to see Dhamma, you have to exercise the brain tremendously in a certain way. For sure, you got to exercise it in a certain way. You got to teach the brain how to see things objectively. You have to teach the brain how to be calm, how to be quiet. You have to teach the brain how to think through logic, see it logical, judge correctly. You're teaching your brain how to think. Having that kind of practice then means that if you were to be reborn as a human, those instincts are intact. You will come out and go to the gifted program, man. Like that, lor. Come on, you can play piano. Ding, 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 ding. People are going, what did I just produce? Nothing to do with you. It's all about the karma, the Dhamma of the past life. Okay? That's quite nice.